We now provide you with this updated report from Georgia officials. Take a listen.
Georgia officials have concluded that there was no widespread voter fraud by election workers who counted ballots at the State Farm Arena in November 2020. The results of this investigation indicate that Rudy Freeman and Wandrea Shaye did not engage in ballot fraud or criminal misconduct while working at State Farm Arena on election night. A legal matter with this network and the two election workers has been resolved to the mutual satisfaction of the parties through a fair and reasonable settlement.
And of course, the settlement that's going on is why they reported on that in the first place. Now, you might recall that OAN they were dueling every day with Newsmax to be more enthusiastically supportive, vocally supportive of Trump's big lie in the wake of the 2020 election. They were making incredibly bold claims about voter fraud, about Dominion and Smartmatic and Hugo Chavez and the ghost of Captain Crunch, and everybody was trying to steal the election until the lawsuit started to come, because to us, Newsmax, OAN are so obviously not professional news organizations that they seem to have internalized that and didn't get that you can't make very specific, repeated defamatory claims about major corporations without potentially running into some legal trouble over that. So they've been sued. They've been sued for literally billions of dollars, and now they did that little minor acknowledgement, Yaz, for like 30 seconds. They acknowledge that no, the stuff that we said about Georgia and specifically about Rudy Freeman and Wandrea Shaye that led to them being harassed and all of that was not true. I don't think it's likely though, Yaz, that as many people are gonna hear this retraction as heard the initial claims.
Yeah, that's like what we were talking about earlier. And it's kind of impressive a little bit. I don't want to give them too much credit, but this cult of personalities that they've built and all of their followers that they've come to acquire are so obsessive and are so committed to what they think they believe in, to what they think is actually happening, to their very, very warped sense of reality, that it doesn't really matter, right? They can say, oh, they were just forced to say it. They just had to say it as a technicality because of some lawsuit, like whatever it is that they tell themselves to still cling to whatever narrative they've decided to cling to, right? Mm-hmm. And it could have been anything, but at this point, this is what they've got. And so they have to stick with it, because if they don't stick with it, they'll admit that they were wrong. They'll admit that they were duped. They will admit that they were tricked into believing this thing that is so far out of the realm of reality that the rest of the world thinks that they're not intelligent. So, it doesn't really matter.
Well, yeah, and it makes me wonder, like, so now going forward, if any of their hosts make claims about this, are they gonna be chastised? Are they gonna lose their jobs? Like, what exactly is the stance going forward now? They seem to have reached some sort of settlement. I assume they're not gonna be paying literally billions of dollars. They've admitted that they lied. And by the way, these two individuals who were talking about, Rudy Freeman and Wandrea Shaye, were a really big part of the right's propaganda campaign, with Trump mentioning Freeman's name 18 times in that big call to Brad Raffensperger to get him to like flip Georgia for him. Rudy Giuliani bringing it up when talking to Georgia State House Republicans. Like, they really thought this was evidence. They had nothing, they were lying, but it was really important to them. In any event, we'll have to see. I know Grant Stinchfield, I think is his name. It sounds made up. It sounds like a side character in a Harry Potter novel, but I think that's one of their hosts. He's one of their insane people. The right is really mad at him because he was going to have Dinesh D'Souza on to talk about his 2000 Mules, the big like lying documentary about voter fraud, where he implies that he has lots of specific information and doesn't state an actual fact. They were gonna have him on Newsmax, I think, and they canceled like at the last minute. So I wonder if they're getting to be a little bit more cautious about who they bring on, perhaps because their guests might end up violating some sort of agreement that they have, but we'll have to see.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.